While the country remains in the dark, we're being told that the electricity crisis will be over by the end of this year. But how realistic is this, given the current state of affairs at struggling power utility Eskom? While we prepare ourselves for stages 8 of gloom, power stations are reaching the end of their lifespan, infrastructure is being damaged and cable theft seems to be increasing in response to the longer hours of outages. Energy expert Professor Mark Swilling joins us this afternoon to discuss these concerns and what lays ahead in terms of energy security in the country. Prof, thank you very much for your time this afternoon. And maybe let's just get your initial thoughts on this interesting communication that comes from the ANC's General Secretary that we will have the end of load shedding by the end of this year, whereas the Ministry of Electricity is telling us that we need to brace ourselves for the very worst in the winter months. What is your initial assessment of that very misaligned communication from both parties?
Well, I think we need to take the Minister of Electricity more seriously. He has become increasingly realistic about the challenges, in particular when it comes to ending load shedding and how long that is going to take, 18 to 24 months. How he's also become more realistic about whether we can actually fix the power stations. There's less emphasis now than before on extending the life of the coal-fired power stations and a lot more emphasis on renewables. So all of that is consistent with all our various mainstream policies. The Secretary General of the ANC is really misleading the country by making claims. Those are reckless claims that we'll be able to end load shedding by the end of this year. There's absolutely no technical and financial evidence to substantiate that claim, and so we can only really interpret it as an electioneering gimmick in the lead up to next year's elections.
Prof, can you just explain to us, with what we're seeing, we've been going through extreme energy or power cuts over the last few weeks. We will go all the way to stage 6, and then like today, for example, we're back at a stage 1, and those obviously will increase later on in the afternoon. What causes, based on your assessment, the extremities that we've had to face over the last few weeks, and not a gradual transition as we were used to before the last few months of last year?
Well, it's actually very simple. The state of the power stations are such that no one can predict with certainty what's going to happen tomorrow. So we can easily go through a period of stage 1, stage 2, even no stages, because just we're in lack. The investment in maintenance is starting to pay off, and it'll be stable for a while. But then suddenly, a couple of machines in succession across different power stations will just trigger, kick off, and we're back up to stage 4, stage 6. And so we just have to get used to the fact that it's not about gradual improvement, gradually getting worse. It's instability, it's uncertainty. That's what we're faced with. And that's because of the state of the machines, which is the result of years and years of neglect, overusing them and under-maintaining them.
Yes, and so with that, there has been the deal with CoPowership that has dominated the news over the last few days, Prof. And it was reported that it will only be providing around 1,000 megawatts of power over the years that have been agreed upon by government and the CoPowership suppliers of energy. Your thoughts on this particular deal and its actual relevance in assisting with the current crisis?
Well, I think it's a mistake to say there's a deal. The environmental approval still needs to come through, and the Ministry of Environment has turned down the environmental application on at least one of the CoPowership sites twice. So I don't think we can just assume that the Environmental Ministry and the Minister is a pushover. They're going to follow the rules, which they have done in the past with a lot of integrity. So I don't think we can assume it's a done deal. Nevertheless, what is most concerning about what is being referred to as the deal is there's still reference to a 20-year power purchase agreement, it should be 5 years maximum if we're going to have it at all. And the reason for that is within 5 years, we are largely going to have resolved our power crisis. And we therefore will not need to be dependent on paying CoPowerships for gas, which is paid in dollars. And the price is very, very volatile. So we are hooking our economy to a volatile price paid in dollars, which is going to exacerbate our economic problems, exacerbate our economic crisis.
No, thank you very much for those insights, Professor Mark Swilling, joining us this afternoon to speak about the current energy crisis that we are facing and, of course, what lies ahead as we approach the depth of the winter period.